Ladies and gentlemen, this is Ronan here. You cannot see my face because I'm recording my screen right now. But what I want to show you is the schedule for the whole longevity blueprint program. So the question that we had was, we learned so many routines, and some of them are daily, some of them are weekly, some of them are like four times every 4 weeks or every 6 weeks. What does it look like when you put it all together? So what I have here is a 12-week program, let's say, that put these things all together according to Ben's recommendations by week 8, which is different. And this is the first thing to acknowledge than the recommendations that he gives you during the quest. During the quest, what you do is that you're condensing and putting together all these practices so you can train them, you can practice them, and you can see what the results that you get from each one. What is the how do you like them, how they fit your agenda, and you practice them quite a bit of times, especially the first ones, every day, like Tabata 1 and Tabata 2 and these things, so that you get a condensed experience in these 8 weeks and can decide what you put in your own routine. And then at the end of the quest during week 8, Ben comes back and he says, let's have at least once in a week a explosive movement routine. Once in a week at least a heavy movement routine. And in some of these guidelines that he offers us, this is what this schedule shows us. So you have this link for this spreadsheet, so you can make a copy of this and edit if you want, or you can print it straight away. And in this first tab, you have a 12-week program that is all around. So it gets a little of the explosive movement, the heavy movement, cardiovascular fitness, stamina, mobility and recovery. All the things are here according to what Ben gives us as a recommendation during week 8. Here is what you see. We have daily routines like fasted movement and the hormesis. So for hormesis, we have a contrast shower. For the fasted movement, we have a fasted walk that comes from the quest. But you already learned that from Ben that the fasted movement is ultimately fasted movement. The way that we did this was through a fasted walk. But if your question is, can I do something else? Can I cycle? Can I jog? Can I do so? Now you know that the answer is yes, and it's fasted walk here because this is the routine that we use during the quest. Then Ben also says, let's have at least once in a week an explosive movement. So you see 4 options here. Tabata 1, Tabata 2, the ultimate efficient body weight workout, and the plank routine. The plank routine, Ben also says do this every 4 to 6 weeks. So you can see this there. And all the routines that you see in this spreadsheet that are in gray is because they are options that you can do in that day instead of the one that is highlighted in color. I just picked the one in color either for preference or to follow the cadence. So for example, in this first week, I picked the ultimate efficient body weight for the explosive movement. But I could have picked Tabata 1, I could have picked Tabata 2, and you see in the next week, I'll pick the plank routine. So when you're executing this, you see that the highlights is my suggestion, but you can replace by any of the ones that are in gray if you so desire. And then this is on Monday, and you also have the mobility and recovery routine for Monday, that we have 3 main options: core foundation, foam rolling, and yoga. And I just picked core foundation just because why not, right? And in the other days of the week, you see that some days I pick foam rolling and some days I pick yoga, so that we make sure that we do all of them. But if you want to do just yoga or just core foundation or in the different order, you can do it too. And also, the ordering of the columns don't mean that is the order you need to execute this. And by this time, I just want to make this super clear. So in this case, you can do your mobility and recovery work before the explosive movement, or the other way around. Or this is something that you decide. It's more of what are the things that I'm doing on the Monday. On Tuesday, we are having a heavy movement pattern. In this case, I chose the super slow training. You can also do the full body isometrics. For this program, for these 12 weeks, for going for the minimum effective dose, let's say, we're having heavy movement only once a week. This is what Ben during week 8 says. Let's at least have once a week one heavy movement routine. And in this case, you see, for the whole 12 weeks, I chose the super slow training. And in none of these weeks, I chose the full body isometrics. Why? Just because this is a big preference of mine, and especially because when you're doing a super slow training, you're lifting weights, and especially if you can progressively increase the weight, so if you're doing in the gym or in a machine that can make it heavier and heavier, this will probably give you more muscle mass and more strength than the full body isometrics. So the full body isometrics, in my case, I would do it if I am traveling, for example. If I don't have the equipment, then I would use full body isometrics for my heavy movement routine of the day. But then the exception here is that also during the Q&A that we just had this weekend, Ben says, I know, it's a good idea to have a heavy training maybe twice a week or maybe 3 times a week. So for the maybe twice a week, if you want to tap into this routine but do heavy training twice a week, I also put in gray on Thursday that you can either do a super slow training or a full body isometrics. You will see that throughout the 12 weeks, this will always be great because by default I'm doing the minimum here. But if you want to do this twice a week, then you can just add this on Thursday. And then on Tuesday, still coming back to our Tuesday, we still have one mobility and recovery that is a daily routine. On Wednesday, besides our daily routines, we have a fasted walk, a contrast hour, and a mobility and recovery routine. Then we have one cardiovascular fitness that we do this twice a week at least. And for this, you have 4 options. The high intensity 4 minutes, that is the one that we did on the bike. The high intensity sprint, that is the one that they do on for 30 seconds sprinting. And you have Tabata 1 and Tabata 2. And you see, Tabata 1 and Tabata 2 are also an explosive movement, are all our cardiovascular fitness. And the truth is that a lot of these routines, they have some sort of intersection or overlap in terms of the benefits. In Tabata 1 and 2, they give you both the explosive movement and the cardiovascular fitness. So I'm using the cardiovascular fitness slot of the day to do Tabata 1 and 2 throughout the 12 weeks. And if you do Tabata 1 or Tabata 2, it's up to you. I put Tabata 1 on Wednesday and Tabata 2 on Friday, but you could have picked Tabata 1 for both, Tabata 2 for both, and the high intensity interval training, we will do this every other week. And you see in the following weeks how they will play out. Then we have mobility and recovery every day, and on the Saturday, that is the day, one possible day for measuring things. You see that we have things like body weight, body composition to measure this in a weekly basis. Other measurements that you may want to have, maybe HRV or maybe resting heart rate, and some of them you can even do daily if you want. This is completely up to you. Every 2 days, maybe blood glucose or things like this. But the fitness test is the one that is particular. And then Ben also says on week 8, let's do this once every month. So you see that once every month we'll have a week that is for fitness test. So from week 2 onwards, we will start varying a couple of things. And there are 4 main variables in these weeks that we will vary. And they are here in gray at the bottom. So this week is a week that has a fitness test. So you see yes for fitness test. It doesn't have a stamina exercise, and we do this every 4 weeks, as also Ben recommends. It doesn't have high intensity interval training because the cadence is also periodically, and it doesn't have the longer recovery routines like the full body range of motion or the sports massage, because these will also do this periodically. Then what changes from week 1 to week 2? You see that for week 2, we will have the plank routine for the explosive movement. But then you can say, okay, but it's plank. Plank is not really explosive, right? But it's one of the routines that when we learn, Ben says that you can replace with the full body, the efficient full body workout. It's not an explosive, but you're contracting your muscles the most you can. So it can fit that into that benefit as well. That's why I put in this slot for explosive movement. And you see that plank routine will appear only every 4 weeks in this program. Then on Tuesday, nothing changes. We have super slow. And then for the cardiovascular fitness for Wednesday and Friday, same thing. And then for Friday, though, we have one high intensity interval training. And I chose the sprint. I could have chosen the 4 minutes, up to you. And I will alternate every time that we have a high intensity interval training week. I will alternate between the both of them. And so this week is a week that we don't have a fitness test, as you can see here. We don't have a stamina workout, but we do have a high intensity training, a high intensity interval training, and we also have a long recovery. So on Saturday, instead of doing a short recovery mobility, you see that all of them are grayed out. We have one longer mobility, and I picked, for example, the full body range of motion. And we will do a longer mobility every 2 weeks. Then we go for week 3, and on week 3 we will come back to ultimate efficient body weight. Could have picked Tabata, up to you, but the thing is, plank will be every 4 weeks. And we will go back to Tabata 1 or 2 for the cardiovascular fitness, because this is not a high intensity interval training week, but it is a stamina week. So on Saturday, we're not gonna do the fitness test. We're not gonna do a longer recovery. We're gonna do a stamina activity that can be either the hike or the sports. And I chose the hike because why not? I could have chosen the sports as well when we come in the later week. So you see the pattern here, right? A couple of things are fixed, like the super slow on Tuesday, the Tabata 1 or 2 on Wednesday, and then other things we are alternating week by week. Whether it is a high intensity interval training week, then things change on Friday, and on the same week we have a longer recovery and mobility routine, or we do have a hike or a stamina activity, or we have a fitness test that happens every 4 weeks. So in week 4, you see the high intensity interval training will come back. But instead of doing a sprint, now we do the 4 minutes on bike. And every week that has a high intensity interval training, we also have a longer mobility and recovery routine on Saturday. And then the following week, which was week 5, then we repeat the fitness test. So I'm not going to go through all the 12 weeks because you get the idea. And the main thing here is that a couple of variables that are fixed and a couple of variables that are changing week by week. And this is the guidelines based on Ben's recommendations for on week 8. He says, let's do at least one of these and 2 of that, and I got this at least, and I built these 12 weeks that I can do and just repeat. Then I also built 2 variations, because you can say, okay, but I don't want to do the minimum, for example. I want to go a little bit more, and what if I want to focus my week or my routine, my next 12 weeks, on a bit more on strength to muscle mass ratio? This is what you have the second tab for. So this is also 12 weeks, but the things that are different is that we are focusing more on the heavy movement. So here you see that we're doing this 3 times a week. So the super slow training we do twice, then on Monday and on Fridays, for example, and we do the full body isometrics on Wednesday. And you see that the explosive movement then changes to Thursday, and we're gonna have only one cardiovascular fitness routine per week. And this will be either Tabata 1 or Tabata 2 or a high intensity interval training that will also alternate week by week. We will have the same cadence for stamina workouts that is once a week. Also the same cadence for the fitness test that is also once a week. And the longer mobility, we'll have this twice a week, so every 2 weeks. And you see that for the next week, the days will be the same, but then the explosive movement will be the plank routine that will come back 4 weeks later. And we will have a high intensity interval training. On Saturday, we have a longer mobility. The reason why I put these days here, this arrangement of days, why super slow on Monday, is that, for example, you will do a high intensity interval training that is after your super slow. If you do your high intensity interval training right before your super slow training, for example, if you did this here on Thursday, it could potentially interfere on your super slow training when you do your leg press, for example, because if you do a high intensity interval training, especially if you're sprinting, you can fatigue a lot your legs. And then next day you already go for leg press and they may be fatigued. So just to optimize, it's not a huge deal, but just to optimize this, I let the high intensity interval training for after the super slow. So you do super slow on Monday and then high intensity on Tuesday, because in this program here, we're prioritizing the heavy movements, the strength to muscle mass ratio. And then after the high intensity, you go for full body isometric. So it's not going to be as heavy as the leg press. And then you still have some time to recover. You do the plank routine or the ultimate efficient body weight workout on Thursday. And then on Friday, your legs are very well relaxed and recovered, or the most they can be at least, for you to go heavy and go intense on the super slow training. And you see that throughout the following weeks, we are going to have the same cadence for the other things. So here on week 3, we have a stamina week. And then on week 4, we go back to high intensity and a longer mobility. And then week 5, we go back to a fitness test. And then we repeat these patterns going on and on. And every time that we revisit something, for example, a longer mobility routine, I'm picking a different one. So the first time that we do a longer mobility, we do a full body range of motion. That is on week 2. The second time that we do a longer mobility, this will be week 4, we do a metabolic mobility routine. And then on week 6 that we do a longer mobility again, we do the deep tissue massage. So you see that all options, all routines that we learned are being used here. Then, if you say, all right, this is cool, but what I want to focus on is actually cardiovascular fitness. Can we have a whole 12 program that explores more on the cardiovascular fitness? And the answer is yes, we can do this, and it's here. The third tab is how you focus on cardiovascular fitness, for example. So here what I did is that I prioritized cardiovascular fitness, put this on Monday, and did it 3 times a week. And doing this 3 times a week will mean that in this program we'll do high intensity interval training every week. 1 week we'll do the sprint, the other week we'll do the 4 minutes on bike, and then the other week sprint, and then 4 minutes on bike. So this is a whole 12 weeks very focused on cardiovascular fitness. We have high intensity at least once a week. And then on the other days, we can have Tabata 1 or Tabata 2, but you can say, yeah, I want to have high intensity twice a week this week. You can also do this because it's there in gray, so these are all options that you can include. Super slow training is still far from the high intensity interval training, so you can get the max or the best from each one of these routines. For the explosive movement, I also added more Tabata sets. So, or optional Tabata sets, and you see that they are all great. So the explosive movement in this cardiovascular fitness program that has 12 weeks, we can have 1 to 3 times a week. So one would be either the plank routine or the ultimate efficient body weight. And then on Thursday and Saturday, you can add a Tabata 1 or 2. And that's up to you. This will be great throughout the entire week because it's not necessary. You don't need to do this. But if you want to add this there, so it's also an option. And this will look like a lot like we did during the quest. That we had one Tabata, either Tabata 1 or Tabata 2, almost every day, right? So in this, if you choose to do this Tabata 1 or 2 on Thursday and also on Saturday, you see that you do super slow and Tabata 1. That's something that we did when we did the all-in weeks. You will see that there is the same cadence for stamina, that is once a month. The longer recovery is also twice a month, and the fitness test is once a month. So on week 1, you see that the days that we have the fitness test is the day that we don't have the Tabata 1 or 2 optional, because you're doing something like this in the fitness test and you want to be as rested as possible. And that is also one of the reasons why I let the high intensity for Monday, because then it's very far from Saturday and you can be rested for your fitness test. So on week 2, this is a week that we have a longer recovery routine on Saturday, and then we can have a Tabata 1 and 2 on Saturday as well. High intensity on Monday, and then a Tabata 1 and Tabata 2 on the other days of the week. And then on week number 3, we have a stamina routine here, that in this case is hike, and for 4 weeks from now, it will be sports. And then on week 4, this is a longer recovery again, so here we are. And then on week 5, we have the fitness test, and then this pattern starts to repeat all the way to week 12. These are all the 3 options or variations that I built to show you that we have a Swiss Army knife of routines, and we can combine them. And these are not only the only 3 combinations. You can make your own combinations as well. You can focus on stamina. Maybe you can do stamina once a week or twice a month, and focus a bit more on that. Or there are different variations that you can do. I want to give you 3 so you have different options, and you can see how you can focus on some of the benefits as well. And then the other tabs is also what some of you asked. That is, what is the schedule for the quest? And then you see, I wanted to see what is the schedule that we did on week 2, on week 3, and you see all these things will be here. One of these tabs is for all the light schedules, and another tab is all for the all-in schedule. So if you want to go through the quest again, or if you want to do things like we did throughout the quests, here we are. These other 2 tabs show us the schedule that we had throughout week 2, week 3, week 4, all the way to week 8. I hope this helps you guys. I hope this clarifies things. If you have any doubts, please let me know. And guys, it was a big pleasure to have done this and share this experience with all of you. I'm sending a big hug, and let's go continue with our fitness journey. Cheers, guys.